like giving yourself away because you're able to construct yourself in the first place. This is something that no other team in the debate has engaged, and Rohan clearly weighs UI is more important than utility. Because having this self, this ability to interact with other people, to decide what is meaningful to you, is what creates that meaning to you. Because we can endure just inhuman amounts of suffering if we have the ability to do this. We can go through things that nobody should be able to come out alive. People like Viktor Frankl, who lived on the grounds of the concentration camps, because they were able to find some meaning to keep going. But we don't think that they have the ability to do that on their side. When you need to have very rigid structures to make sure that you can be ready for conflict at any given moment, you have to constantly be on your toes and be told what to do. When you're born into society where you don't have susceptible influence to change any social structure, when in order to make sure that you put your resources together, you only have one function to you, and it's very difficult to contest this. We heard a couple of responses that came out of closing government. The first is that people have religion, and that therefore this is something that is an unfreedom that exists on our side of the house. But people do have some amount of autonomy in the way they interact with religion on a very individual level. Like you have a micro level of autonomy to choose the cases in which you incorporate religion into the social factor of your life, the ethics that you choose to impose, the other things that you choose to interact with. It's not just that every single person like reads the Bible and then says, oh, now I'm going to follow it to the letter. You decide to interpret it with like the literary hermeneutic analysis that applies to your own life. The second thing to say is that you need to have purpose doesn't matter because the suffering is just something that is so bad. And this would be true if they proved to you that you would be killed instantly, or that your quality of life was so much better on their side that there's absolutely no way you can experience pleasure, but they just don't reach that burden. They lived in an action movie where there's nuclear war or diseases around every single corner. I think we'll get mitigation out of the argument later as to why we think that life in these developing countries aren't just that bad, but there was no mechanism as to why there was a 40% chance that you're going to die or have a horrible quality of life. The third thing I say is that you can't leave in our world. And I think that this is sort of an uncharitable characterization of the argument that Rohan gave to you. Because I think that A, you do have the ability to engage in micro-resistances against your state. You're able to do things like choose what is meaningful to you. You're able to do things like take a shit on company time you think that's so important to you. And I think these are things that make you free, even if it's only little bursts of freedom. But B, this argument is about choosing your state. It's about choosing your community. It's deciding to leave the home, about not being confined to the household, about finding friends that are important to you, that give you a lot of joy. The vast majority of people, even if they're living in the slums of Bombay, do have the ability to do this. The fourth thing to say is that you can leave on our side. Why? Why? Give me a reason. Please, I'm begging you. This is an island that says we're going to kill you if you decide to step onto it. It is clearly very hostile to outsiders and will look down upon you if you decide to go outside of it. POI, you want to tell me why you can leave?
Yeah, no, but explain to us exactly why it is the case that you construct purpose on your side if you're born into a capitalist system and religion exists on your side.
Oh my god. This is just such uncharitable analysis. We all live under capitalism. We all find little meanings, bursts of meaning and joy through the interactions that we have with other people. The little, yes, tiny but meaningful sparks that fly in this. Freedom isn't something that exists on a superstructural level. I can see to that. But it's something you experience every single day, and we think lots of people do. It doesn't have to be ever present. Those little bursts are enough. The next thing that they say is that, you are, you only have a very rigid structure as a result of living in some places where you have Dalit communities, but I think that one, there's some semblance of changing the social order on our side that literally just does not exist for theirs. I think there's no way the society could be sustainable. But second, the mere economics of how this society is organized, I think mandate that you are far less malleable, and also the mere fact that you just meet less people is something that's important. The next thing to say is that you only make a few connections, but it really only takes a few. It only takes 3 or close friends for you to feel close to them, but you do have to feel like you've chosen them, and these aren't relationships that are forced onto you, that feel abusive because they're only like you because they are needed for your survival. This is something in which you are not able to gain recognition with another person because you don't know really why they like you. The last thing I say is that maybe these societies are matriarchal. There's an interesting PhD student who was talking about this recently. He said the reason a lot of matriarchal societies tended not to do so well is because they're worse for organizing for war. They're really good at a lot of things, but they're really bad at getting lots of children and then raising them really quickly and having them go out to war. So probabilistically likely is the case that with the society over time that's existed, you're more likely than not to be patriarchal. That's the response. The last thing is that a lot of our analysis is just phenomenological. It's about the ability to experience freedom or joy in the first place. It's not even about the real social fact of freedom, which I don't think they ever properly engage with. But I'll engage directly with their extension. First, opening.
All of the mechanisms you give for why people can access choice or can't access on our side, such as long hours and survival things, are also existent on your side for the average person. How is this unique?
Oh my god, I how many times do I have to explain this? Yes, it's not something that is true like every single second of life, but I think I've given enough examples and analysis of places where it is true enough that it is meaningful and is meaningfully different in these two contexts. Okay, on the closing government extension, they say that sharing means equality. I think that the fact that you need to mobilize really quickly and the fact that you need to share really well probably just means that you're more likely than not going to be rigid. The argument isn't even about equality. Like, you can still be equal and still feel like you have no control over that equality. The next thing I'm going to say is that mindset is something that's bad, but I think I've already told you why if you have connections in meaning life, you can endure a lot of pain. And also, people tend to compare themselves to people they're more similar to. I don't necessarily compare myself to Jeff Bezos. I see myself to the peers around me. So, like, the harm is not that bad. Weighing against opening opposition, I think a lot of our material is non-contingent. They have this view that the world is going to be getting better, and it's something that's meaningful, but there's a lot of things like that are scary, like deglobalization, like threats of existential risk. We tell you you're able to weather huge amounts of pain, which not only goes around their case, but also isn't contingent on a lot of things getting better. Look, I think that we are able to be different from all the other creatures that surround us because we have the ability to be above our own base desires. We're able to say that we set a law for ourselves that is meaningful and guides me toward things that I don't know myself. We only get that on our side when you have the option of choosing to not be free. Thank you.
Thank you, everybody. Shake hands, cross floor, whatever that's called. And then
Cross floor shaking.
cross floor, shake hands, and we'll be done in 15.
Good